Hey guys, welcome back. So today I brought home this 5,000 watt Coleman generator. As you can tell by looking at it, it is quite dirty. This was stored outdoors but under cover. Anyway, I think if I clean this up, it'll look halfway decent. The person selling it didn't know too much about it. He had actually just moved into a house where the previous owners had left this behind. Anyway, he wasn't asking much for it, only $20. So I figured, why not? So brought it home. He says it actually runs, although not very well. So I'm going to test that real quick. All I've done is pull the cord. It has compression. And I checked the governor arm just to make sure that the throttle plate is not stuck. And it's not. So assuming it starts, it's not going to race out of control. So I'm going to check that oil real quick, and if it looks good, we'll try starting this. Yeah, plenty of oil. Might be a bit overfull, but that's fine. Yeah, I went to plug in the test light. Not happening. All right, not too bad. It started right up, and it makes power. So this is doing better than most of the generators I buy. And it wouldn't run off a choke, which is fine. So the carb does need some attention. And there was a bit of rattling, almost sounds like knocking, but it's actually just the frame rattling on this furniture dolly. So this thing, it runs, it makes power, but it's a mess. So I'm going to drain the tank. I always drain the tank on stuff I buy. I have no idea how old that fuel is. And I usually don't power wash generators, but I'm going to make an exception on this one. So we get the tank drained and removed, and then we'll power wash everything and then get this back inside and go through that carburetor. Yeah, it's a pretty big difference that the power washer made. So I still wouldn't call it clean, but it's a lot better. Anyway, we're going to get that carb off, cleaned up, and it's a little more involved than most. This choke lever here, actually, there's this whole bracket that kind of goes over here. So in order to get the carb off, you do need to pull this plastic piece, pull the bracket, and then everything should come out. All right, this carburetor came off way too easily. So I'd say someone's had this off recently, and when they put it back on, they didn't torque it down properly. So even if this is a good carb, meaning it's clean inside, it may have had a vacuum leak, and that would have definitely caused it to run lean like we were seeing. But we got to clean it anyway. So I'm going to drain the bowl. We'll try cracking this free. A lot of times on these Makunis, this will break off. So if it doesn't open, don't force it. Leave good enough alone. Yeah, it looks pretty good. What came out, there's no water. There are some bits of debris, but nothing too concerning. And the fact that something came out of the bowl drain is a good sign. A lot of times when the bowl's bad, you crack that drain open and nothing comes out. So don't think it's going to be too bad in here. Yeah, there's a lot of rust in that bowl, but I don't think it came from the carb, and it's a plastic fuel tank, so I'm not sure where that came from. Yeah, main jet, it's not clogged. All right, I'm not going to force it. These arms here break pretty easily, and I know the needle is working, so I don't want to push my luck here. I guess the only thing I don't like is putting this through the ultrasonic with the needle on. The solution I use, it's pretty safe on rubber, but sometimes it's not. In this case, I think we'll risk it. We'll leave that in place. In the middle here, there is the emulsion tube. It looks like it can be unscrewed. Sometimes they're pressed in, so I'll try to get that out. And then we have the pilot jet here on the top. Yeah, it moved. So I've got everything off that I want to get off this carburetor, and I'm not seeing anything clogged. So, I mean, it had to come apart anyway. There was a lot of junk in that bowl, and most likely just some of those bits of rust were kind of gathering by the main jet, restricting the flow. And even if that's not the case, I mean, this thing was tightened so loose that I'm sure it had a massive vacuum leak between the engine and the carb. So we'll clean this up. We'll just run through all the openings here with a wire and probably spray all the junk off with a little bit of carb spray before soaking it in the ultrasonic. So this here is the pilot jet. There's a few holes here on the side, and the fuel is actually drawn up through the bottom here. There's a very small hole, and in this case, I think that is plugged. So that would definitely cause a run issue. All right, it took quite a while in the ultrasonic, but it did finally clean up. So we'll get it back together and give it a go. I am missing the bolt down here, and it's not making a very good seal without it. So I do have one that's the right thread, not exactly the right part. It's also a little short, but I think it'll be good enough for now. Ready to give this thing another try. Assuming it starts and sounds good, I'm going to adjust the engine speed. It was running a little slow. Potentially that's not an issue now that the carburetor's clean, but if it is still slow, I am going to adjust this throttle a bit. There are two set screws. You can see one right here and the other one's back here. Those control the high and low speed set points. So the idea on this is usually that's a fixed throttle. So I'll back those screws off a bit. We'll adjust the throttle to get to the right speed, and then I'll drive both of those in, essentially locking that throttle in place. Not too bad. It started right up and handled the 3000 watt load without issue. Unloaded though, wasn't completely happy with the way it was running. It was missing a beat, and it sounded like it was running maybe a little rich. So just to validate that, I did add a little bit of choke. That seemed to do nothing. I adjusted this jet on the side of the carb. I turned it clockwise to lean things out, and that didn't do anything as well. So there is still a little something off with this carb. Typically, these Mikunis on this setup do run lean, so maybe somebody drilled that out in the past. I'm not really sure, but either way, I mean, this thing is doing a million times better than it was. So let's get this inside and finish it up. So trying to figure out here next steps on this machine. And, you know, the carburetor, it's a bit of an issue, but not a huge one. And the filters on it are not clean. And there's only so many things that can cause an engine to run rich. You know, it's either it's jetted wrong, potentially valves, or an air restriction due to the filter. So I did pick up some new air filters. I'm going to put those on first before trying to do anything with the jetting. Also, I want to get this more mobile. There are no wheels. You know, this furniture dolly is fine for the garage, but it doesn't work very well in the yard. So as a model, I have this other Powermate here, and this has a wheel kit. And that's the same type of kit that would have come on this generator here. So I've been checking what I have. You know, I do have 8-inch wheels, just like the ones over there. So that'll work. The bracket, on the other hand, is a different story. You know, I tried to make a bracket, but the metal bender I have can't make two 90-degree bends within an inch of each other. So went to the hardware store, bought this. This should work, but I do need to put a hole right about there to accommodate this wheel. Now, the gauge of that bracket is a bit smaller than what's on here. So I don't know if that's going to be an issue, if it's going to support the weight. So let me get some holes drilled in that. We'll try bolting one of these wheels on. And if that works, we'll proceed. Otherwise, might have to do plan B. Yeah, it came out much better than I thought. I was worried. The gauge on that stainless steel is thinner than what I would have liked it to be, but it's quite strong. There's no flex. I think we're good. Now, as far as the handles and the feet go, I was going to fabricate something, but as luck would have it, I don't need to. I was disassembling my dog's elevated bed because it had ripped. And these pieces were from that bed. I have 2 of them, and I saved them because they would be perfect on a generator to form a foot and a handle. So I've got 2 of them. They are capped on the ends, so we don't have to worry about like dirt getting in through the bottom. So I think these will work out well. I'm just going to drill some holes. We already have one there, but we need to drill in the frame and add another there. We'll bolt it on, and then this thing should be fully mobile. Yeah, something like that. So I think you get the idea. I'm just going to add another bolt right there, and then I'll do the same on the other side. All right, well, this one surprised me. I honestly did not think changing that filter was going to fix the run condition, but it did. I mean, this engine's running quite well, unloaded and loaded up. So I'd say we're looking pretty good. I'm just going to get the tank back on. I also have a spark arrestor, which I'm going to probably throw on there. It might actually look a little bit odd because it's brand new and that exhaust is far from it. But let me grab the tank and the spark arrestor and finish this thing up. All right, and that's pretty much it, guys. I mean, this one, I actually passed up about a month ago. It was listed for a month. No one wanted this machine, probably based on the fact that it looked terrible and the picture was not that good. There was one picture and the listing said doesn't run well. So yeah, I'm glad I picked it up. I mean, these Briggs Vanguards are actually very nice engines, and this thing, I want to say it cleaned up well, but it is still dirty despite having power washed it. So it does need a little bit more attention, but it is running well now. I mean, the engine is running perfect and it's making power. So you can't ask for much more. The wheels and the handles were just a little bonus and will make this a little bit easier to sell and easier for someone to move it around in an emergency. So I hope this video helps someone. Thanks for watching.